Where is Deshaun Watson going to go, and what is going to be the fantasy impact in 2021? Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al, and I'm going to talk you through all of this. We don't have a destination for him yet. We did have some tweets and discussions this morning that were happening on Twitter and kind of led me down this road to thinking, where is Deshaun Watson going to go? Obviously, we've been thinking about this for a few weeks as he demanded a trade, but a couple of things happened this morning. One, JJ Watt is gone. He is no longer on Houston. So like if there was a non-0% chance 24 hours ago that the Texans were just going to stick to their guns and say, you know what, we're just going to hold on to Deshaun Watson. We're not going to trade him. We don't want to trade him. And we're just going to keep him. And that's going to be that. I think that percent chance has come back down. You know, it's closer to a 0% chance now that they got rid of JJ Watt. They're going to let him go somewhere else. I think that they're resigned to the position that they have to deal Watson. They're going to try and get the best deal that they want. There has been a lot of other chatter. We're going to go through that chatter as well in this video. And I'm going to look at this not from a what can they get for Deshaun Watson standpoint. What would be the best trade for them? What would be the best NFL? Where would he win the most games? Fantasy analyst. You guys want fantasy information. So I'm going to talk about which place would be the best landing spot for him, or we're going to look at like 6 different landing spots for him and talk about the fantasy impact on all the players in those different locales and how they would benefit from having somebody like Deshaun Watson on a team versus the quarterback situation that they're currently playing with. The one caveat that I do have to say through all of this, Deshaun Watson is really, really good. And no matter where he ends up in 2021, he's going to be a top quarterback for fantasy purposes. Top 5, wherever he falls in that top 5 projection for you, I think is just based on your salt to taste mentality. If you like him, if you like the weapons or whatever, how you project other players to regress or progress in their careers. So he's fine. No matter if he goes to any one of these teams, he's going to be great. But the prospects of the players on those teams is what's going to change. So what happened this morning? 1, JJ Watt released. 2, James Palmer from NFL.com came out with a tweet and said, I'm not going to get into the drama of who he's subtweeting here. That's useless to me. Deshaun Watson wasn't at all interested in Denver, but I've heard different for some time, and it appears that a lot of other people have heard the same too. So Denver was not a team that was on my radar for Deshaun Watson to end up at. So let's kind of look at their team. See what they had last year. I know it's bright, but we got to deal with it. I need a site that has a dark mode that I can look at these things for and not blind you guys as we move forward. So Drew Lock really didn't get it done in Denver last year. I think that they have a really good defense, especially with Von Miller coming back, and they can spend more assets this offseason, especially if they were to acquire somebody like Deshaun Watson. But the first thing that came to mind for me, the receiving core on this team, as young and talented and as athletic as it is, I think personally, Jerry Jeudy is going to take a massive leap forward. If you guys have watched my videos for the past 4, 5, 8 years, whatever I've been doing content here, you know how much I really, really, really like latching my cart to second-year wide receivers. They tend to take a leap historically, especially really talented ones who have a couple of skills. A, great athletic profiles. B, played a ton and got good amount of targets and market share in their rookie year. C, the ability to get open, right? So people are going to say that Jerry Jeudy dropped a lot of balls last year. Drops don't matter. I know that's going to piss somebody off in the replies already. Drops do matter, and I'm smart because Jerry Jeudy dropped balls, so he's not good. Okay. The number one thing that matters to quarterbacks at the NFL level is a receiver's ability to get open. And Jerry Jeudy is very, very good at getting open. He is a tremendous route runner as a rookie, and that's not going to get worse. He's just going to get better as he learns the NFL game, and the more time he spends. And the benefit for these second-year wide receivers and quarterbacks this year is that they are going to have a full offseason of OTAs, of mini camp, of preseason games, and having a full offseason of not having to worry about getting ready for a combine and pro days and rookie symposiums and shaking hands and kissing babies and everything that you have to do as an incoming rookie to the NFL. They get a full offseason, 8 months straight, 9 months of preparing themselves to be the guy in their offense, both quarterbacks and pass catchers. And That's why you never really see rookie tight ends do exceptionally well from a fantasy perspective. But I digress. So the likes of Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton returning from an ACL, and he was somebody who was set to possibly emerge this season. Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, KJ Hamler as a Deshaun Watson type over the top, 1 or 2 time a game sort of receiver. Deshaun Hamilton for depth purposes, as well as Albert O. Oh boy. If Deshaun Watson goes here, and he's had good receivers in the past. He had one of the most talented wide receivers in the league. You could argue that he was one of the top 10 or 15 most talented receivers ever in Nuke Hopkins. And then this year with Cooks and with Fuller, they were a very good receiving core, but it was very top heavy. I could make the argument, if I really felt like it, that from a talent perspective, that Fuller and Cooks is no better than Jeudy and a healthy Cortland Sutton. But then everything else below that, I don't think that Deshaun Watson has ever had this amount of depth of talent if he was to go to Denver. And while that would be, again, I still think he's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, regardless of where he lands. It's more about what he could do for a guy like Jerry Jeudy, what he could do for with Cortland Sutton, albeit in the first year back from an ACL tear, where they usually take that 1 year to get their legs underneath them again. But Jerry Jeudy would be the biggest winner here, as well as somebody like Noah Fant with 93 targets this season. Now getting a quarterback who wants to get into the red zone historically does look for his tight ends a lot. So we could see a jump from Noah Fant in terms of touchdowns if Deshaun Watson ends up there. Another team that he could end up on, one of the other rumored teams that he could go to, has been the San Francisco 49ers, who are trying to make things happen with Jimmy G and Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard. Needless to say, this would be a massive upgrade with a coach who, one of the best coaches at scheming and getting his players into space. They do have very good talent on the outside and at tight end. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the league. Obviously, there's still Kelsey, but George Kittle with an injury-riddled season, one of the best pass catchers at that position in the league, as well as an amazing blocker. Brandon Ayouk may be the most talented wide receiver on this team. All apologies to Deebo Samuel. So there are enough weapons here. Kendrick Bourne is okay. Richie James is okay. Whatever. They have other guys that can kind of do some things, but really, Ayouk, then Samuel, George Kittle already rated pretty properly. Ayouk could take a massive jump if Deshaun Watson was to end up in San Francisco for his second year. That's who I would be if you're drafting best ball leagues at this point, because nobody's drafting their regular season team, right? And if you don't draft until August, speculation isn't going to matter to you, right? Because by August, prices have been pretty efficient. The market is pretty efficient. ADPs are going to have already moved and locked into where they are. But if you're drafting super early and you want to speculate on a few of these teams that you're drafting, no matter where you're drafting, on DraftKings, Underdog, Drafters, My Fantasy League, wherever, the speculation of if Deshaun Watson ends up on this team, these wide receivers are going to take a massive jump in ADP. That's how you win those leagues, is by getting these value plays in those positions. So another article came out yesterday that basically said, Jake Asman basically tweeted out that if the Texans decide to trade Deshaun Watson, it would only be to the Jets. That makes sense from a football perspective, or at least that's their preferred target, because the number 2 pick, if that is on the table in some sort of package to get the number 2 pick back, where they could get their quarterback of the future if they are fire sailing this, as well as a couple of other picks as well on top of that to really start rebuilding. We got to take a look at who the Jets have in their passing game. I like Jamison Crowder. I think I like Jamison Crowder more than most, but he is a poor man's Brandon Cooks, right? He's good. He's not game breaking. He is, he can put up big fantasy days, but those come mostly on volume. Brashad Perriman is fine. Braxton Berrios is a backup at best. Denzel Mims is a rookie. Didn't really get all that much volume. And again, anytime players come out of an Adam Gase system and go to any other normal or somewhat good offensive system, we can see them take a leap. But I think that they would have to beef up this offensive receiving core with the cap space that they have, and they could do that if they do get a Deshaun Watson. I love their new coach. I think that this is a great situation football wise for the next few years. And getting a Deshaun Watson, if you're the Jets, why do you get Deshaun Watson? You have all these assets, you have these. Well, the point is to get, with all those assets, to get you a quarterback that you think is one of the top 5 or 10 quarterbacks in the league. And if you can just jumpstart that by getting a Deshaun Watson, that would be great. But it would improve Jamison Crowder. We'd have to see some progression as a player out of Denzel Mims. Maybe the Chris Herndon truthers, myself included, would be on board for one more season if Deshaun Watson ends up in New York. But the bandwagon's getting pretty empty on the Chris Herndon front. They're going to have to go out and get one of those big free agent wide receivers, and there are plenty of them out there. Another team that's in the mix, the Carolina Panthers, spent 1 year with a bridge quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater. No pun intended, but pun existing. They do have a very good pass catching crew, obviously. Christian McCaffrey coming back from the season, what was it? A season full of different injuries, right? So he'll be back next season, and that's a lot of balls caught right there. So you have the short passes, something he's never really had in Houston, is a running back who could catch as many balls or be as involved in the passing game to take the pressure off as CMC does, as well as an emerging DJ Moore. Robbie Anderson is what Robbie Anderson is. Curtis Samuel may not be there next year. Ian Thomas is fine. He's not thrilling. He's nice. But really it's going to land mostly on these 3 guys: DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, CMC. I don't think it improves CMC at all. CMC is what CMC is. He does not need an amazing quarterback. He proved that in 2019 when Cam Newton was hurt, and with the likes of Kyle Allen and everybody else, he was still posting league-winning numbers at running back. For him, it's way more about volume than anything else. DJ Moore should continue to take steps forward and strides forward as a receiver. I would assume that both DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson's touchdown totals, if Deshaun Watson ends in Carolina, would drastically improve. Both would challenge for double-digit touchdown receptions as he projects to throw probably around 30, maybe a little bit north of 30 touchdowns over the course of a 16-game season. And somebody has to be on the receiving end of those. DJ Moore, the most talented wide receiver that they have. Robbie Anderson, very qualified pro. Another team that he could end up on, a lot of trade situations that people have thrown out there, maybe Tua and one of those picks coming back with a future pick as well. Not interested in what the cost is going to be, but they're going to have to gas this offense up just a little bit. Devontae Parker, I'm assuming he's going to be there. They have very talented pass catching tight ends in Gesicki and Shaheen and whatever else they have, but they've been playing with also Rans on the other side of Devontae Parker because of the injury to Preston Williams earlier in the 2020 season, which means that you're already going to get an improvement if Preston Williams is ready to go by week 1. But I think that they need to go get, if you go get Deshaun Watson, you must draft a rookie wide receiver early in this draft to try and bolster this offense, and or go after somebody else on the outside to give, if you're going to invest those assets that you've been collecting for 2-3 seasons in a Deshaun Watson, you also have to invest in pass catchers to go around him. Instead of putting him in that situation, it's you have Devontae Parker, who's fine, but he's not a NFL game-winning wide receiver. You need to get somebody else on the other side. You need to get a rookie to help out, much like Minnesota did. They got rid of Stephon Diggs. They got back picks and things that they got back for him, and they turned that into Justin Jefferson, who had a tremendous rookie year on the other side of Adam Thielen, who is also a very good NFL wide receiver, a difference maker, much like Devontae Parker, albeit not a league winner, but a very good wide receiver. So Devontae Parker would take a step forward, but it's going to depend on what else they have, because I think that they're going to have to try and go out and get somebody who either will be an alpha wide receiver for them in 2021, or drafting the kid who they think by 2022 could be their alpha wide receiver, or maybe second half of the season. The last team I want to talk about here, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but this article came out as well in the last 24 hours that a former executive suggested New England Patriots are the favorite for the Deshaun Watson trade. And again, I don't know how much weight to put on this article. I don't know how much weight to put on this rumor that's out there, but honestly, this cupboard is bare. Jacoby Myers, Damiere Byrd, James White's 70 at this point. Julian Edelman is 82. Like, I'm sure every Patriots fan in the world wants Deshaun Watson to end up on their team because he's Deshaun Watson and he's amazing. And you immediately convert this team from what they were last season with Cam Newton into a contender for that AFC East, right? Bills would still be the favorite. Patriots would be right behind them. But if you're Deshaun Watson and you have a no trade, why the hell are you going there? What do you have to throw to? Why are you going to leave a situation like this, culturally or whatever, you're pissed off at the front office, to go to a situation with worse weapons as a quarterback, unless you are bringing some other dudes along with you? But, like, there's nobody here. Myers, Damiere Byrd, the first round, their draft pick, Devin Asiasi last year, Gunner, like, N'Keal Harry, please. So, this, to me, is the least likely of all of these situations. No matter where Deshaun Watson goes, he's going to be amazing. It's just going to depend on what his impact will be on specific other fantasy weapons. So if you're drafting early and you want to speculate on where he's going to land and who's going to see the big ADP jumps, you're going to get him at a value right now, and you may turn them into massive values down the road. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.